So how is sleep in your house? Isn't that the worst question in the world? Isn't it so annoying? I feel like everyone asks you the minute you have a baby constantly about sleep. And I think that there's a problem there with how we take the question, not we, me, baby parents, because we take it as a sort of a goal then, that they have to sleep, that it's kind of the only way that we're proving that we're doing something right. Obviously sleep is super duper important, but I think that one of the bigger reasons behind that question as well is because when our babies are sleeping and our children are sleeping, it's the only time we get to ourselves, to restore, to be us for a little minute of the day. And when you're working and you're parenting, there's so tiny amounts of time just to come back to yourself and have a moment to breathe. And gentle parenting, for brand new to it, is so focused on the parent because it is about parenting. It's about us being calm and collected so we can respond with calmness and compassion and empathy to our children's tantrums and meltdowns and bedtime dramas, because those things will happen. That's childhood and that's not going to change through gentle parenting. What is going to change is how we are. So I feel like that question of, when am I going to get my evenings back, is what I want to really address with you guys now and give you some techniques that will really, really help that as well. I have an amazing gift for you and I'm so excited. 1,000 of you who click the link below, the first 1,000 will get a free month of Skillshare. Skillshare is so us. I have been on Skillshare now for about 6 weeks and I'm obsessed with it. It is an amazing online learning community where you'll find thousands of creators, and really this is a way to make your evening a chance to get back to yourself. What do I love? What am I passionate about? What are my hobbies? How can I unwind and relax? How can I kind of even rediscover who I am now I'm a mum as well. So there's courses on that you can do if you do have a passion. There's photography, there's painting, there's art. There's so much of that if you really are craving just an outlet, a hobby that you can just do at home. The courses are all around an hour long. The one I'm obsessed with that I'm desperate for you guys to listen to is by Jonathan Van Ness, who you will recognise, and he does a course on Skillshare which is the ultimate self-care playbook. Discover and nurture your centred self. This course actually made me really emotional because it just was speaking to my mum's soul, and he talks about self-care, which I think has become sort of a huge thing. He talks about it as really coming back to yourself and knowing yourself and what you love and what you enjoy. And the bit I loved was he talked so much about, we often ask ourselves, what can I do for them? And we need to also complete that sentence, and what do I need for me so I can do that? I just was like, yes, Jonathan, I loved it so much. And it's an amazing course. He does guided meditations in there. He talks about positive affirmations in there. It's mind-blowing what he says about that. There's even a yoga course. So even if you just do one thing for free this month, please do that course. I will link it below in the description box. As I said, the first 1,000 of you will get that whole month for free. I've even been doing Houseplant 101 care. So I've been looking after my plants because I was like, actually, that is a valid hobby of mine. I love my plants. I want to get more and more my little plant family, and knowing how to take care of them, how to centre them from north, south, east and west by my windows. There's just so much that you can dip into, and then your week becomes really having that time for you. And in the self-care playbook, he talks about when you're planning your week, put in those things for yourself. It might only be 2. I went kayaking with a friend. I planned it into my week because I know that school holidays are going to be hectic, and I just felt I deserved that time and I needed it, and it just changed my whole entire day and probably my whole week. So do please take advantage of it. Please take that course and let me know what you think of it. So what is gentle sleep training? Really gentle sleep training for me was this big shift in how I thought about bedtime that came through. I can't remember, I read a quote somewhere, and it was that bedtime really is the biggest transition and separation of the day. And I thought, oh my goodness, that makes so much good sense to me, to think about bedtime as a separation, not a deadline. Whereas I think I'd had it as a deadline for so long. I was like, if they're not in bed by then, failed, evening's ruined, everything's gone out of my hands, I'm out of control, and then we start sort of reacting rather than knowing and having a plan in place. So especially with my daughter, she has sort of quite a bit of separation anxiety. So when you think about it in that sense, you really sort of start a lot earlier and put these techniques into place earlier in the day. And gentle sleep training also really allows for a lot of parent involvement, parent connection, for you to be there and reassure them, but in a way that you can then separate. And that's the bit I kind of think I'm missing. And I think that what's wrong with the bedtime routine, is that you spend all that intense time, the bath time, the cuddle time, the story time, and they're loving it, so mummy, then it's suddenly like, bye. I'm off now, and it's making them go cold turkey with that separation. And I was like, that does not work. That does not work for my children. That wouldn't necessarily work for me unless I was old enough and rational enough to be like, okay, fine, lights off. That was kind of our bedroom. Lights off, everyone go to sleep. And it's kind of just such a shift from that really intense together time to that really complete alone time for hours and hours. So that's how I really developed my techniques around. One of the things in the Jonathan Van Ness self-care playbook, he talks about our tolerance levels, and talks about we're often living within our tolerance levels. If you think of your tolerance levels like this, he says, we're all living kind of up here. And I think that's so true. And you think about bedtime, those tolerance levels, if you're anything like me, it's kind of got less and less and less and less because we're so desperate to get on with our evening that we're living right up here. So it's what can we do ourselves to be going into bedtime down here? So that full day of work, that dinner time, all the work we put in, like I feel like between 6 and 8, I just don't exist. It's like my busiest time of the day. So when it gets to bedtime, I'm right up there already. So what I realised with the gentle parenting sleep technique is you really need to focus, number one, on yourself. I bet you spent so long looking at your children. What are they anxious about? What are they worried about? What are their fears at bedtime? What is making them cross? What is making these reactions? Actually stop all of that. First technique, please stop all of that and just very quickly look at yourself. What in my routine is making me stress so that I'm going into bedtime not at my most peaceful and calm? Because if you want a peaceful and calm bedtime guaranteed every single night, then you have to be peaceful and calm. That's it. It will be peaceful and calm if you're peaceful and calm, because that's how you'll experience it, no matter what gets thrown at you. So think about what it is that's making you stress. For me, for a very long time, I used to put my kids to bed, then sit down and try and enjoy my meal alone. And that was just something that we did, me and my husband, because he gets in from work, say around 8, and we like to eat together. That really wasn't serving me anymore. As in the summertime, bedtime gets later, my kids are in school, I was hungry, and then I was getting hangry. And I was like, then I would say things to my children like, so mummy can't have her dinner then? Like I would say things like that to them, and it's like putting all this emotional thing on them when all they're saying is something very reasonable. It was too much emotional pressure on me because I was hungry. Or the other thing sometimes is we don't allow ourselves any time to ourselves during our day, sometimes during our whole week. So then we're really rushing bedtime because like I just need 10 minutes to myself. And I totally do, and I totally get that need. So what I started to do on the weekends when I had a bit longer and my partner's home, I would have a bath, say around 5 p.m, read my book, chill out, have that time to myself so that I could go into bedtime really at the low of my tolerance level, and I had that peace to give out my peace so my kids could share in my calm. I wasn't joining them in their chaos because I wasn't rushing. So really have a look at your own routine or your whole family routine and go, what is it that I can do to make my stress level? What triggers me and how can I stop that? And that is the best way you can look at your routine rather than focusing on your kids. So the second technique is to think about when you start writing your bedtime routine. So you probably start your bedtime routine from bedtime and you think, what happens when I start putting them to bed until when I end putting them to bed? But you've got to think now, what happens before that point? So are they prepared and calm and ready for when you say pajamas, bedtime, bath time, whatever it is then, because that's often when they start the sort of rumbling because they're sort of already getting anxious for that separation. So if my kids go up for bath time at say 6:30, an hour before that, 5:30, I'll say, look, it's an hour till bedtime, what do you want to do until then? And then I'll say it's half an hour till bedtime, what do you want to do up until then? So making sure that they feel when they get to bed, and then my kids will say like, I didn't get to do this, we didn't get to play a game, I didn't get to play football, and all these sort of things that they feel cheated out of. I didn't get screen time. That's the one, isn't it? So if you make sure that they're really, really prepared for that bit, then when you put them to bed, you can say, remember, you played that board game, you had that really nice time in the paddling pool, you got to do some drawing. All those things remind them, and it kind of lets them kind of shut down any of those things they didn't do in the day. And we know how important that is, because how often do you go to bed and start ticking through all the things that you didn't get done? And our kids' to-do list is very much play ideas, things that they enjoy. So if you make sure you've done that for them earlier, think before my bedtime routine starts, what can I do the hour before, half an hour before, and give them the control and choice then, because bedtime doesn't change. What happens before changes. So you get to that bedtime in that really good, peaceful, calm environment. So we talked about separation at the very beginning, and bedtime really being the biggest transition and the biggest separation of the entire day for our children. So what do? What I've been working on with my daughter is how to really allay those fears that she has about separation. And I've got 3 stages of this. I've really been working on this really hard this last couple of weeks. So first of all, go to her room and it'll be playtime together. So all that connection that normally happens just at the very last few minutes, do that at the beginning of the bedtime routine. So it's 20 minutes of full-on focused play and attention, whatever they want to do, but up in their bedroom. So it could be Barbies, it could be taking some colouring up there. She really likes at the moment to sit on her windowsill, and we did origami the other night, really, really difficult, but that's what she wanted to do, and we did that together. So she had that big fill up her cup of mummy time. Then the next tip is to stay in the room and do something side by side. So you can take your laundry up there, I know it's so glam, and sit there just doing the laundry, folding it up. Gets a job off your hands for later when you're having your self-care time. And just be doing something side by side, so you're in the room, but that sort of a little bit of connection is taken away a tiny bit so that they feel safe and secure in the room, but you're not full on there doing the activity together. She'll be just playing at that point. Then I say, okay, mummy's finished her job, let's snuggle down and read your stories, and we'll have story time and that sort of chat time, and leave a really good amount of time in that, maybe just 20 minutes to do how many books your kids like. She's on one, but we read a storybook and then leaving a lot of time for her to chat, because that's what she likes to do, and I just be quiet. Just listening, no prompts about bedtime, just listening to her day, laughing, making her feel really secure that I've listened, I've heard her, and she's got everything kind of off her chest. Then how to separate. I'll say, mummy's going downstairs now to make a cup of tea. Tell them what you're doing so they know, okay, I know what mummy's doing. Mummy hasn't just disappeared, suddenly she's gone. I'm going to make a cup of tea and I'll come back. So go away, 10 minutes, really enjoy that cup of tea. I often have to then go and put my other child to bed, so I'll say I'm going to put Finn to bed now, I'll read his story. So I'm kind of doing this in tandem. Take that time away, then go pop back in, go down. I normally sort of very quiet at this point. She'll normally just give me another hug, a cuddle and a kiss, and I'll wait for her to kind of release that sort of hug a little bit, then say night. I'll come back, I'm just going to go downstairs and tidy the kitchen, and I'll give her another thing that I'm doing so she knows I'm downstairs in the house. She knows what I'm doing, she feels secure. Then I'll go and do a job, might watch a bit of telly, then I'll pop back up again and pop back in every time that you've promised to pop back in. It's just going to be reassuring, even just if you pop your head around the door, if they seem really settled, obviously just let them be peaceful. But the last time you say goodnight, my top one that works for me is I say, good night, mummy's going for grown-up time now. And that's become something that my children know in my house, which means I'm now downstairs relaxing, and they appreciate that I have grown-up time. And it's a good sort of skill for them to learn that there's a time of day when it's just for the grown-ups now. And then I say, but I will pop back in and give you a kiss on my way to bed. So they know it's not the final, and I really feel that that has really helped my daughter really deal with that separation. So I hope that's been helpful. I think my really big things are to look at yourself first and figure out your triggers and stresses, to really start that bedtime routine super early and give them choices so that they've ticked off that mental to-do list that we all have, and then to think about gradual separation with like side-by-side playing, going back in and not leaving that all that connection just to the very, very end and then go cold turkey with it. Don't forget, the first 1,000 of you can get that amazing gift of a month's free membership to Skillshare. You'll find so much on there that you love. There's even a singing course. I'm like, I do love singing. I do want to do that with my life. So do check out and take advantage of it. Let me know. I'm obsessed with the courses, so I really want to hear what you loved about them as well, and I will see you on my next video. Bye guys.